Good day, everyone. Welcome to our How to Do Social Media Marketing, Bloggers, Social Networks, Metrics, and More webinar. I'm Owen Linderholm, and I'm the moderator. On with the show. Our webinar tonight is addressing an extremely topical and important topic of using social media for marketing, and this particular webinar is covering pretty much all the venues and avenues have available. Sally Falco of Expansion Plus, who is a leading expert in social media marketing, is going to speak first and be followed by Chris Abraham of Abraham Harrison, who is a leading practitioner of using social media platforms for real-world users. So before we start off with Sally, I'm going to give you all a poll. It should appear on your screen in a moment. Go ahead and vote whenever you're ready. In the meantime, we will turn control of the webinar over to Sally.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This year is the 10th anniversary of a book that was published called the Cluetrain Manifesto. And strange as it may seem, but people, when I speak to them about social media, I find that many people have not read or even heard of the Cluetrain Manifesto. So if that is the case for anybody listening today, I would encourage you to get a copy. You can actually read it online for free, or if you like the idea of having the book, you can order it from Amazon. And one of the real core ideas in the Cluetrain Manifesto was that markets are conversations. And they said silence is fatal. Things really have changed in the last 10 or 15 years. We've gone through many changes in the way things are done and how we get products to market, how we interact with our customers. And you know, about 10 or so years ago, I was teaching marketing and PR at the university level, and all the textbooks then spoke about the fact that in order to be successful at marketing, you had to have a focus on the customer and the consumer, or the buyer, if they were business-to-business buyers. And everything had to be around that. And they had all these marvelous graphics about how everything was focused around your customer. And unfortunately, at that stage, it wasn't quite real, but the internet has changed that completely. Hang on one second, I just need to make sure this thing is moving. Okay. So it has changed everything for us, and it has put us back in touch with one another, and it has created communities kind of like we've gone back to the old marketplace, where you could walk in and you could say, where did you buy your fruit today? Where did you get your meat today? Wow, that's fantastic silk. Where did you get that? And you could get recommendations from the people that you knew and trusted. And we've definitely seen that this is happening. So one of the things that we at Expansion Plus believe in very, very strongly is that, yes, things have changed an awful lot, but there are many things that have remained the same. And no matter that you're dealing in a completely new environment, and there are probably new technologies that are a bit scary and you're not sure how to use them, it still is a marketing or a PR plan. And it's part of your overall communication strategy. And as such, it really doesn't, it's not effective to just try this and try that, and everyone's tweeting, oh, I should do that. Oh, everyone's blogging, I think we should do, oh gosh, that didn't work. Okay, well, I know, I'll have a Facebook page. And then you're not quite sure, oh, well, what about Joe? He's got a Facebook page. He must know how to do this. So I'm going to make him our social media manager. And this is the kind of thing that we're hearing all over. And I would really recommend to you that you take 3 steps back and you really sit down and look at it from a strategic point of view. And these are the steps that we are recommending to our clients as a social media strategy. First and foremost, look internally. Look at the culture of your company. See what it is that you're willing or able to really share in a social media environment. What is it you want to achieve? Are there issues that you're aware of that have to be addressed? Do you know where your influences are? Do you know what's being said about you? What is it that you particularly want to achieve by doing this? And how does that align with your overall business goals? Once you've done that, the thing that's so different about a social media strategy, you've always done that with PR and marketing. When you're doing a new campaign or a new strategy or a new plan, you've always looked internally and looked at your strengths and weaknesses. Where are the opportunities? Where are the threats? Now you have to also look at really what does this customer want? Who are they? Where are they? What are they talking about? What are their needs? What are their interests? What kind of content are they looking for? What are they saying? Are there issues out there that you're not aware of? Are there evangelists out there that you're perhaps not aware of? So you have to go and do all this research and the listening. And in the past where it was maybe possible to kind of skate without doing your research, it really isn't anymore. You absolutely have to do this. So that would be my one tip. If you're not going to do anything else, that's one thing you have to do. You have to monitor these conversations. So it's monitor, listen. You have to look and see where are the communities and who are the ones that are influential within that community. Only then, when you know what you want and you know what they're interested in and what they're looking for and who they are, can you then begin to develop your own content strategy. Then when you know what kind of content you have to develop, that's the time, way down there at point number 6, that you say, I'm going to use Twitter, I'm going to have a blog, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, I know, the perfect thing to do this would be to have a podcast. But you can't know that until you've done all this homework. Once you've picked your tools and you've got them in place, then you start delivering the content and looking to see how you can engage people. Is it working? Are they responding? Are they passing it on? And then the next phase would be to facilitate and help them to have this conversation amongst themselves. And ultimately, of course, you have to measure it all. And can you measure social media? Yes, of course you can. It's different. It's not going to be the same measurements you've used before, but you certainly can measure it. Excuse me. One of the things that came out in a research from the CMO Council in January of this year, they spoke about a thing called the engagement gap. And they said there's such a huge difference between the influence that is out there on the internet with consumers all talking to one another and the organizations and how they're actually taking advantage of that or trying to participate or not, that there's just this massive gap. And there's just so much more about on the consumer side, and that we're really missing out because we're not getting involved and we're not taking advantage of this customer advocacy and customer affinity. So customer affinity means that they have the same ideas and they're working together, and then advocacy, obviously, they're talking about you and recommending you. And one of the things that just astonished me was this figure, that only 16% of U.S. companies are monitoring all these conversations. And, I mean, the picture to me, that's, this, you know, get your head out of the sand, guys. This conversation is going on. There are people out there, and they're really talking about you. I'll just give you one example. I teach a social media boot camp, and it's a 2-day boot camp where you really learn hands-on how to do all this. And I had somebody from a very big food and drink brand in my last boot camp. And they are active. They're fairly active in social media. And while we were going through all the research stages, we discovered that one of the top users of the site, called dig.com, is a really big brand evangelist. He writes about them all the time. He writes about their events and all their content and the athletes and their products, and he really pushes their products a lot. And they had no idea that this person was out there. That was a huge opportunity for them. They have made relationships with this person now. They help him to know more. They've, invited him backstage at some of their events. So the amount of advocacy that they're getting out of him has just doubled and trebled. And that's just because they were not really doing this strategically. They were doing a lot of social media, but it was all over the map. This one here, that one there, these guys over here, that part of it, and they just didn't have an integrated and aligned strategy. So what is it that's influencing your company and your audience today? It's all the things that are online. Pushing is not working anymore. For 100 years, we've been creating messages and pushing them out. And now it's gone the other way. It's flipped on its head so that the people that are out there are actually saying what they want. They're raising their hands, and we need to show up. So it's search engines, news. News online has become huge. And get your content off your website. For years, we've had this focus. Everyone must come to my website. How can I keep them here? I have to make it sticky. Perhaps if I can keep them for another minute, I could sell them something. But what you need to do now is have a different viewpoint. Get your content out. Get it on as many other sites, blogs, microblogs, get people talking about it, get them doing peer reviews and posting comments, and be on other people's video, get interviewed on podcasts, get your stuff out into the social news sites. The news in particular, I'm sure you're all aware of what's happening. Last year, the red line is the online. That's getting news on the internet. That took a huge jump last year. The newspapers have been doing a little slow decline since like 2003. And now this year, they've taken a big dive. They've even been at Congress looking for a bailout, saying it's the recession. Well, no, guys, actually, that might have pushed you over the edge, but you were already on the cliff. And television, as you can see, the dark blue line at the top is also on that kind of downward trend. And I've heard from the guys here in Hollywood, the heads of studios, they are very concerned, very nervous about their ad revenue going away. And now we just have to see how the dark blue and the red line and how long they take to get together. We've seen the first newspaper gone, Colorado, and the Seattle Post-Intelligencer also gone, only online. The Christian Science Monitor, an incredible news source, online only. So your media relations strategy has to change. For 100 years, we've been doing media relations the same old, same old, same old. And as PR and marketing people, when the media landscape changes, the way we do media relations has absolutely got to change. It's no more from us to a reporter, to an editor, to the public. It's just all over the place, as you can see here. Yes, we're still going to journalists, but journalists are reading bloggers. They're reading Twitter to see what's going on, and they're taking those stories back to their editors. And so journalists are bloggers, some of them. It's just become a very different landscape, and there are many ways that you can get your message out today. And one of the things you need to look at is how important the news sites are, like AOL News, Yahoo News, and Google News. If you look at the top 30 news sites, they're right up there. Yahoo News was number one for a long time. This year, they've just been pushed down to number 2. MSNBC is number 1. But Yahoo News is a huge resource. So you can look for people who actually show up in Yahoo News and then pitch your stories to them. This is one for a client that we have. It's a skincare client, and they've been on all these different sites, and that's how we get them to show up in Yahoo News. Of course, you can put it on the wire service. That will get you in as well. But people do tend to regard it as more reliable when it's not a press release from the company, but it comes via another reliable media source. So with bloggers, you need to tap into this conversation. Use your keywords. Don't only, of course, you must look at your brand and your company name, but look at the keywords as well. Say, for instance, on that client, it's SkinMD Natural I would be looking for. People sometimes shorten it to just SkinMD, so I look for that. But I also look for things like skincare, dry skin, eczema. And I see who's writing about that. And then I would rank them and look for their influence and how much authority they have, how many people are linking to them. how much engagement goes on in their blog and how much traffic do they get. And this read their blogs is just, that is such a basic core of PR. For years and years and years, I've listened to journalists saying their biggest beef about PR people is we don't read their newspaper, magazine, watch their TV show, and we just pitch blindly. And the same applies 100% to bloggers. You have to know what their interests are. You have to comment appropriately. Be part of their blog. Talk to them. Figure out what you can contribute to this conversation and build relationships with them. And I have a case study for you just to give you an idea of how this works with a real live example. This company is Floor. They're a public company, and they do really interesting things with modular carpet tiles. And last year they launched a new, very edgy range of designer tiles with a designer called Alexander Gerard, and this was his design from the 60s that was quite famous, called La Fonda del Sol. So we looked for mom bloggers because we were interested in people who were wanting to do home design, interior design, do it themselves. We were after all the DIY home designers. And we came across this young lady. She lives in Silicon Valley. Her name is Kristen. She blogs under the name of Mod Mom. She started off blogging actually not about design, but just about being a mom, and then discovered that she had this really big interest in design, and over the years she's become a design blogger. She has a fairly good following. She gets about 20,000 people a month who read her blog. But to them, she's incredibly influential. So it's interesting that you can work out from rankings that other people say, like you can use a site called Technorati. It's Technorati. They give you a ranking and an authority for the bloggers that are listed there. But this Mod Mom doesn't rank nearly as high as some of the others that we found. But when you look at the actual result, every time she posted, we got such a flood of traffic. She did a contest and she got over 600 entries. So some of the authority and the result will come from really working with these bloggers. Of course, we also looked for design blogs. This is Apartment Therapy. It's one of the biggest. It's almost become mainstream media. Moco Loco is another very big one. And here were the results. We got these really influential design bloggers to review the products. They wrote about them. They wrote about it a lot. They loved this product. But we also got the influential mom bloggers reviewing and talking about the product. It increased the traffic to floor.com tremendously. It really created a huge interest. Prior to even the release of the carpets, we had over 200 bloggers who had registered to get updates on the Gerard designs. And at the end of the year, they had had over 100 million media impressions that was mainstream and online at a cost of less than 1 cent per impression. So that was the Floor one. Now, how does all this work? One of the ways that you can, one of the tools that you can use that works incredibly well is to put all your content into feeds. So when you make a piece of content, you put it up on your site, then it remains to be static on your site, and only the people who come to your site will see it. And that's how, the whole web operated in the Web 1.0. However, if you add RSS feeds, then it means that other people can also see and subscribe to this content. The search engines, the news aggregators, the blog and feed aggregators, they can all see this content. And then every time you add content again, it'll go on your site into the feed, and it will automatically be delivered to these people. What happens then, of course, is that they all have their own audiences. So they now get to see this content, which they wouldn't have seen before. And finally, it just spreads and spreads and spreads. it just moves off into the social web. So let's say that a blogger saw something that you had put into a feed, and then one of their readers is a member of StumbleUpon. Oops, let me go back. So she puts it into StumbleUpon. Then one of her followers in StumbleUpon tweets it into Twitter. One of those followers retweets it, and then somebody over here comes back to your site. And this is happening all over the place. So once it gets out, get your content out into the social web, and it will go into blogs, it will go into the social news sites. When we did the launch for SkinMD, we didn't originally contact or pitch any bloggers. We just created a lot of really interesting content around subjects that we had researched and saw that people were interested in and that they were looking for. And then we put it in the feed, and bloggers picked it up and they blogged about it. That gave us the perfect opening to then contact that blogger and say, I see you picked up our article and you blogged or you posted about this. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Would you like to have a sample of the product to give away to your readers? And that's the route that we took, and we have a huge group of bloggers that support SkinMD Natural now. One thing that I would also recommend that you put on your site is a social media newsroom. If you're involved in all the social media contact, there should be a place on your site where you can collect all that and make it easy for people and bloggers and journalists to find it and to take your content. You want them to steal your content. You would love them to take it and post it. And newsrooms have become a primary source of information for journalists. So very often, material that goes out into the social web will find its way back into the mainstream media. So here's a template of how to do this, and all these slides are going to be put on SlideShare. Chris is going to do that. This is our one that we have on our site that was based sort of on that template. And we have a system that we've built that's called PressFeed that we use to do all this. And we have, at the moment, a little toolbar that's a free download that you can use to optimize press releases. So we would suggest that you should go and take a look at it. You can find it at press-feed.com/toolbar. And that's what I have to say about doing your social media strategy. And I would just say make sure that you go through all those 10 points, that you figure out everything you want to achieve, set your goals so that they're measurable, make sure that you're doing all your research and you're really finding out what is going on online before you jump in and start producing content. If you do it that way, you'll produce content that will resonate with your audience and that they will want to share and pass on. Okay, over to you, Owen.
Okay, thanks very much, Sally. That was really excellent, really great presentation. For everyone in the audience, we're going to run our second poll, which you should see on your screen shortly. And please go ahead and vote. And in the meantime, we will turn control of the presentation over to Chris. Okay, so our next speaker is Chris Abraham of Abraham Harrison. He's a leading practitioner of social media and using it for all kinds of business purposes, but especially marketing. So over to you, Chris. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I have to tell you, thank you so much, Sally, for doing this with me. I know that I have a tendency to speak 100 miles per hour and not talk about the basics, and I'm going to do that again in my presentation this week. And I must tell you that my presentation represents a case study of what we do at Abraham Harrison. This is, a lot of people consider it quite heretical, and so please give me all of your open attention, and I'd really appreciate it if you could make awesome rockstar comments on Twitter under the hashtag DigPR. So here I go. I'm Chris Abraham. I work at Abraham Harrison. We do digital PR, which essentially means we do traditional PR using different channels. We use pitches. We do social media news releases. We are very traditional. We've just chosen a different channel, and I think we do a really good job on it. He's not on here today, but my lieutenant and partner in crime is Daniel Kruger, and you can reach both of us at our Twitter IDs or via email. We're always happy to hear from you. Here we go. Before we start, and I tell everybody this, don't be seduced by the lure of astroturfing. You may be attracted to covert online marketing, special ops, black ops, spycraft, fifth column marketing, if you will. Don't be. The blowback that can result is appalling. Using false names, etc. Even though your reputation online is more defined by your contributions to the conversation rather than who you are, the culture of the internet does not suffer being fooled, duped, or suckered. If you're ever found out, you are beep. So let's go on with that caveat. Brilliant minds think alike, and so this is my coverage of the Cluetrain Manifesto. Please pick the book up. You will be the coolest kid at the airport if you pull this gorgeous orange, white, and gray cover out of your messenger bag. In fact, if I ever become sovereign and start a company, my tricolor will be orange, white, and gray. I'm going to go through this right now because Sally covered it beautifully. Markets are conversations. Members communicating languages that is natural, open, honest. Everything that that Sally talked about. So I'll just let you read this closer when I upload it to SlideShare. Learning to speak in a human voice is not a trick. There's nothing it's not like I'm going to come in there and give you how to seduce someone kind of NLP lessons. Really, the whole thing that we've learned in our last almost 3 years of service is that you need to get rid of your concept of salesiness. You need to get rid of your concept of double talk and schmooze and work very simply, very directly. Continue going on about Cluetrain Manifesto, which I will bypass because, honestly, Sally covered it divinely. What we do at Abraham Harrison is we do online brand promotion, including blogger outreach, which is what I'll talk about today. And we do social media community engagement, which includes Facebook and Twitter, etc. But I'm not going to cover that today. If you want to learn about the different parts of our practice, including Twitter outreach or reputation management, you can go to slideshare.net/Chris Abraham, and all the previous decks are there. Like Sally said, goodness, I don't even have to write this deck. I can just say, as Sally said, one thing that people do when they puppy dog into the world of social media and digital PR is they throw away all the strict planning that they did when they worked traditional PR. What Sally and I do is really traditional PR with different channels, different protocol, different languages, if you will. I grew up in Hawaii and Sally grew up in South Africa, and we're very aware that protocol in different countries, including Hawaii, are very different in different communities, and online is, in fact, its different community. As an aside, recently we've been doing outreaches to Latin America, and we're realizing all different types of subcultures within the online world in relationship to Latin America. So you need to find out your goal. You need to define success. You need to define what sort of gift you're bringing to the party, whether it's exclusive access to information or a $2 off coupon, or whether it's going to stroke someone's ego, and then you break everything down into who your target is. Is it a demographic? Is it a psychographic? Is it geographical? And you need to profile, and you need to figure out the profile and the celebrity of the audience. Like Sally said, the most popular blog, the most popular blogger is not necessarily the most influential blogger, because even sites like boingboing.net, amazingly, successful gets their information somewhere, and those are the real influencers. If you can get upstream of the top blogs, you are golden. And then you have to figure out, I'm platform agnostic, to quote my friend David Gellis, D. Gellis at Twitter. He just said, he's a reporter, and I was making fun about print journalism, and he's like, I'm platform agnostic. I am too. We do a lot of blogger outreach, but Twitter's great. Message boards, forums, and news groups are not dead yet. Social networks like Facebook and MySpace, lots of people still use MySpace. Mailing lists, YouTube, Quick, Utters, now called Utterly, etc. First, what we do, since we do blogger outreach, we need to find who the bloggers are, and we use a lot of email. And this is where I'm going to get a little heretical, so please, if you have any saltine crackers and maybe fizzy water to settle your stomach before I move further, that would be smashing. So, who do you need to reach? Activists, animal lovers, educators, Pennsylvanians, New Yorkers, college grads. That defines where you look. Are they bloggers? Are they on Facebook, Twittering, on YouTube, etc.? You can define these things into verticals, what we call universes, and then you need to go find those people. So we develop lists of blogs and their bloggers. Currently we have almost 40,000 bloggers broken into verticals like mommy blogs and daddy blogs and liberal blogs. It used to be around 30 grand, but then we added Portuguese bloggers and Spanish bloggers, and we're prospecting Russian bloggers in Cyrillic, and we're going to be also doing kanji Japanese bloggers as well. And each blogosphere is completely different, but in terms of gross volume, we have about almost 40,000 blogs that we've found one at a time. Honestly, search in Google, top mommy blogs, best green blogs. But you can also jump into the rabbit hole by looking at everybody's blog roll. So if I go to Sally Falco's blog, there's a chance that I can learn all of her favorite blogs and all of her friends, her posse, if you will. And I can find those people too. They're probably a lot like her, and if I want to reach out to Sally, I'll probably want to reach out to all of her friends too. There's also, as Sally said, Technorati. Guy Kawasaki has Alltop, which is pretty smashing, and you can look through there. And then you just search for contact info, look for their name, Dan, age 34, gender male, location Pennsylvania. Ah, he's a Pennsylvania blogger. Ah, you know, he's director of client services at Abraham Harrison. He must be a marketing blogger too. And then you just find those people and you put them into lists. I used to recommend going into domain tools and using Whois, but to be honest, if someone goes, this is the last bullet point, if someone goes out of their way to hide their identity or email, let them go. They do not want to be contacted. So you get this fun contact information. And then you can create a topic universe, blog name, URL, email address, first name, topic, etc. Can be very long lists. It's very exciting to get them into their own little stables and work on these relationships. Here's an example of an outgoing pitch message, and here's another example of why we're heretical. We'll use email outreaches that can include upwards of a couple thousand bloggers at a time. In a vertical, we make sure that we have a very pithy, focused, minimal message, as you can see here. Hi, first name. If you haven't heard, Russia's been dropping cluster bombs on innocent civilians in the Georgian Republic, which has killed and wounded many innocent people. Survivor Corps is one of the lead organizations in the movement to ban cluster bombs and to assist survivors of this terrible weapon. I put together this social media news release which explains everything. banclusterbombs.smnr.us. I would be grateful if you could blog about this very important subject. It would help many people. Please let me know if you're able to help and send me the link to your post. Thanks so much, Danny. Danny Sevilla, who works for us, Survivor Corps, dsevilla@survivorcorps.org. We do our outreaches as our client, and 90% of our outreaches, it's just in an environment where people can get easily confused, and we're reaching out to people who are busy. We try to keep it simple, and in fact, we are outside communication consultants, so we are within the fold during that time. However, here's another one for Snuggle, Creme. I'd like to extend an offer to you and your readers of blog name, a $2 discount on Snuggle Creme fabric softener. Very similar, all text, going out as Snuggle Creme, and I'll show you a social media news release in 30 seconds, maybe 18 seconds. Here's another example for Sharp. In this case, we reached out as ourselves on behalf of the client, who was low advertising, and then on behalf of Sharp. Sometimes they want us to reach out as, our client wants us to reach out as ourselves on their behalf. Sometimes they want us to reach out as them. If you'll see, all of these share one thing. They're textual, they're plain text, they're terse, they're minimal. There's a clear message with a clear request. A lot of pitches I see are kind of flirty, but they never ask for dinner on Friday night. We go through 3 people to remove any verbiage that sounds like it's selling, and all the assets are moved off into a microsite. Here's a microsite. Here's what we call a social media news release. This is for ban cluster bombs, the first email that you saw. You'll see that it's very simple. It's a Web 1.0 HTML page with quick links and news facts in a quasi format that looks very much like a press release. Let me see. And it's very scrollable, but there's no nav bars or anything to distract someone. When they go to banclusterbomb.smnr.us, that's all they see. It's also amazingly stealable. All those graphics are not in a doc. They're not inline. They're somewhere where people can select copy, select images, copy and paste, block quote. Bam, there's a post. I'll show you more. SMNR for Sharp Electronics, you'll see we're a one-trick pony. We've evolved over time. However, it's so simple with the quick links to just make it available. People can steal the picture of the solar panel. They can steal the Think Green. They can steal the news bullet list. So easy. Next one, SMNR for International Medical Corps. We did a big push for them, reaching out for the American Express Members Project. This included, videos, daily updates, lots of information. If you could scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there were lots of banners people could put onto their sites to help promote them. And here's our baby doll, our Love for Life Fresh Air Fund. You'll see that we've gotten a lot fancier. This is our latest generation of fancy, pretty backgroundy kind of thing. Really easy to steal from. A lot of links directly to Fresh Air Fund. We do a little bit of SEO optimization, make sure things are pre-linked for people, and give them access to a lot of pretty pictures. And if you look down on the right, you'll see that we even offer banners with embed codes. We also, whenever we have videos or widgets, we always offer embed codes. We do not assume someone knows how to find embed codes. We do everything, if you will, pre-masticated. We chew everything up like a mommy bird and drizzle the resultant into our lovely bloggers. Not because our bloggers are fools or silly or anything. They're just super busy. And if we don't have them in the first 3.5 minutes, we don't have them. We've realized that even if we bother them for more than 3.5 minutes, we'll get a tweet out of it. But if we make it as simple as possible, we'll actually get postings. Here's one for Snuggle Creme. If you look on the bottom right, you'll see a little Snuggle Bear widget. We had over 250 earned media blog posts over the course of 1 month because of that dancing bear. It was also a $2 coupon, but we've gotten better. We've received better response from this outreach than even the organizations that are trying to help children because of that cute bear and because it's $2 off in this economy. Amazing success. Now, I mentioned earned media. Everything that we do, every outreach is basically offered to take or not take, and then to write about whatever the blogger chooses. We don't coerce, nor do we influence the blogger outside of our pitch. So the long and short of it is that the SMNR is to be stolen from. We offload all content and message to the SMNR, and we can get metrics from the SMNR because everything's hosted on our own dedicated servers, and we can use AW stats and all these other stat tools to see, based on refers, who's stolen a video, who's stolen an image, and we can track that because we control that. All the images are optimized to be able to copy and paste. We can optimize as in an SEO, keyword density, diversity kind of way. It's just really easy. It's so simple for people. They steal blocks and blocks of text and then do a little what I call boing boing thing where they take all of our text, paste it, block quote it, and then make a pithy remark like, Sarah sent me this email, I thought I'd help out. And that's all they do, and they hit submit. And all I say is if you've got 2,000 bloggers you're about to reach out to, make sure there's no dupes, no doubles. A blogger can have more than one email. Check for doubles based on name, based on website, blog, because if you get 2 emails from the same person, you know, that's just spam me, and it's just sloppy. That's how we do it. We put all the emails into one place, and we have fun that way and dedupe. And the magic here is, even though we might reach out to 2,000 bloggers, the moment we do the outreach, we staff the inbox as if it were a trauma unit. For 72 hours, there are people there around the clock. We're a virtual company, so we have people, you know, in Nepal, in India, in Mauritius, all over the country, in Europe, Central Europe, and all that other kind of stuff. So we don't use autoresponders. I was just talking to David Henderson, and he was telling me how he'll reply to pitches and he won't get any reply from someone at a PR firm. If a blogger, we don't use any autoresponders. When someone hits reply, they get someone. If a blogger gets pissed off by a pitch, we only have minutes to respond. A personal, immediate, and human response can make the difference between earning a blog post and being forwarded to bad pitch blog. When you respond, never lock horns or rise to the bait. People have busy, complex lives, and print this out and put this by your computer. It's a quote by Philo of Alexandria. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. They're busy. Always respond with either support, fix their problem, or throw yourself at their mercy with the mea maxima culpa. Here's an example of a good reply, and I'll try to work through this quickly so we have time for answers. The person wrote, Danny, good God, that's awful news. I hate cluster bombs so much. May Putin find some in his closet. I'd like to blog about this, but it wouldn't get published. Blah, blah, blah. Blog editors have nixed past posts on Iraq, Iran, and war in general that I've written saying that war is not an environmental story, which is BS. All war is an environmental catastrophe, but I'm not the one with the control. It's too bad. And we're like, hi, Eric. That really is awful. Thanks so much for getting back to me, and I completely understand your position. If you are able to blog on a personal blog or some other forum, please shoot me a link, and I would love to read your opinion and share it with the team. Best, Danny. And that reply happened within, I'd say, 20 minutes of receiving it. Always track every response, everybody who replies, positive, negative, or neutral. Remove anybody who asks immediately. And if you can't find the email that they're emailing from, email them and say, I can't find your email. Is it a different email than I sent it to? Can you please check, and I'll remove you. You need to remove them. And then track all mentions as they occur. Use Google Alerts. Use SM2, which I'll show you in a second. Use Radian 6. Use whatever you have, whatever you want. Don't hesitate, your bloggers, to copy the link to their post when they say they will, and don't hesitate to hold the blogger accountable for posting if he offers. Basically, our team acts as a concierge. If someone says, well, they'll blog about us, we ask them every week or so, hey, you know, if you mentioned that you might be able to blog, please let me know. It'd be so awesome if you could show it to us. And then follow boldly and proudly. Now, here's another heretical thing. When we remove all the people who've replied or blogged or said, bugger off, we then a week later send a follow-up email, because we don't assume if someone doesn't reply that they're giving us the virtual bird. We assume that they're too busy, that they never got it, that they intended to reply but life got out of control and so forth. So we'll follow up on the last email. We'll do this upwards of 3 times, maybe 4. And ironically, or that's not the right use, I don't think you'll know what that word means, Chris. Strangely enough, if we were to get 100 earned media blog posts and we did 3 outreaches, 4 outreaches, 3 outreaches, we did 3 outreaches. The first outreach of that 100 would garner 25. The second one generally garners 50, and the third generally gets us 25. So we consider the first outreach almost a throwaway. We call it priming the pump. The second one is always the magic one. So all of you who've been afraid to follow up, to send an email out to the people who didn't reply, don't do that. That's where your money, that's where the money happens. That's where everything happens. People don't trust the first email. They follow up on the second one. This is a couple other examples that you can look at your leisure. Let me look at this one real quick. Hi again. I sent you an email last week and never heard back, so I thought I would try again. The Fresh Air Fund is in need of host families. You'll see it's very similar to the first one, just it's a little follow-up. If you don't get a reply from a blogger, we send 3 to 4 follow-up emails. We assume that an email gets blocked, deprioritized, ignored, etc. We allow a week to pass in between. Proof is in the pudding. If you search for thank you International Medical Corps bloggers on Google, thank you Fresh Air Fund bloggers, thank you Snuggle Creme bloggers, you'll see we have pages and pages and pages of people who've blogged about us organically. I can give you the list, but you can just go to Google because I'm everywhere on Google. Thank you International Medical Corps, thank you Fresh Air Fund, thank you Survivor Corps, thank you Snuggle Creme bloggers. You can see. This is also a way to use SEO Google Juice to give links back to people who've blogged about us. And it also allows people, allows us to pierce, to make sure that transparency is key. Very important. We go ahead and admit that International Medical Corps has been working with us, and that's really important to pierce that anonymity, both in terms of publicity, but also in terms of making sure that nobody thinks we're trying to, pull a fast one. Here's some earned media mentions, on Lindsay Cabildo. If you'll see, all of those images are taken right off of the social media news release. And do you have the heart to help? Blah, 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 blah. A lot of the stuff is taken right off the social media news release. It's fantastic. Here's another one. They took the banner, put it right on there, and they quoted the social media news release directly. Here's International Medical Corps, another example of taking all of our content and building their own blog post around it and using our YouTube video, our own asset. Same thing, same asset, same kind of block quote, and same kind of use of our content. Amazing. I can't even believe it works. I do little happy dances around the office once in a while just because, and I have strangers pinch me. Really quickly, because we're almost out of time, I've been using SM2 by Technology as a great way of showing value to clients. If you'll see the green dots, they indicate dates that we've done our outreaches, and you'll see that recently we've been much more aggressive. Anytime on the map when we have been reaching out, the conversation spikes. Now, this is not an absolute volume. This does not show a growing total volume. These are just daily spikes of conversation that happen over time. But you can see, based on the tags on the right, there's a complete correspondence between when we've engaged and when the conversation has spiked. We have a very strong catalyzing PR effect. Here's a couple others. On the top right, you'll see OLX.com. You'll see that our influence, those little green dots, from nothing kind of really built up to a huge mention on TechCrunch we're very proud of, which is the huge spike. The bottom left is International Medical Corps. That 6-week period is the time we've been influencing. They had 0 social media conversation before and pretty much 0 afterwards. And the third one is Survivor Corps. We stopped working with them towards the end of last year because the environmental crisis made everybody nervous. However, you'll see a direct correspondence between when we influenced conversation and when we stopped. You'll see here the blue is this year, Conversation for Fresh Air Fund, and the red is conversation the same time last year. You'll see there was basically nothing. We think that this kind of aggressive, heretical pitching is amazingly effective, beyond doubt. Here's another pretty chart from SM2 showing what the separation is. Honestly, people, if they don't want to blog for you, ask them for a tweet. We're happy to always say, they're like, we have no time to blog right now, I'm so busy. We're like, hey, well, are you on Twitter? Can you throw us a tweet? And half of all of the mentions that we've been able to manifest have been microblog mentions on Twitter. Just ask for what you want. Don't be coy. Shameless, man, shameless. Thank you for your time. Back to you, Owen. I appreciate your listening, and let's get on to questions.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to start off the questions, and while you answer, I'll switch the presentation over visually. First question is for both of you, and I think we should start with Sally, is what's a good place or places to find blogs with the right keywords and topics for me?
Well, I would just start at Google. Google knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go to Google and I type in mommy bloggers. I'm doing one at the moment for a company called Reed's Ginger Brew, and we were looking for mommy bloggers interested in natural soda. So you type in mommy blogger natural soda, and that gave me a whole lot. I also do look in Technorati, and I have other tools that I run. I use 2. One is called Brand's Eye, and the other one is called Radian 6.
Okay, excellent. The second tool is that Rain, R-A-I-N?
Radian, R-A-D-I-A-N 6.
Okay, thank you. Chris, how about you?
No, the same. I included that in my deck. Like, we found at the end of the day that if you use Technorati to look for blog names, you just search within people's blogs. We do most of our search by typing top mommy blogs, top daddy blogs. You know, best. We'll use best as an argument. Best daddy blogs. People keep these lists, especially since Chris Brogan has made it the rock star coolest pastime to create top 10 lists. Everybody does them, and you can find bloggers easily that way.
Okay. Next question for both of you, should hopefully very easy to answer. What is, in terms of what we've been discussing in social media, what is a platform agnostic?
Oh, it just means that they don't have a particular bent for anything. Like, some people only want to be on Twitter, or they only want to blog, or they would prefer mainstream media. So I think in the context that Chris used it, he was talking about a reporter who said he has no preference. He will write for a print magazine, he will blog, he will tweet. Makes no difference to him the platform that he's on.
Okay. Chris, any additions?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
It was just about being a platform agnostic. I mean, I think Sally answered it, so I'm just going to move on because we are short on time.
Sure.
One of the questions that we've got was, as a blogger, I've received emails like the pictures you demonstrated, Chris. This was directed specifically at Chris, but I would like to get Sally's opinion too. I generally ignore them, and as someone trying to market out to bloggers, is there any successful way to warm up the relationship before cold emailing?
I think that A-list outreaches still need to be done by hand. We actually scrub out all A to D listers when we use this large outreach because those are the people who get really angry if you don't follow their rules. So we still, I meet a lot of bloggers at pod camps and so forth, and those are deep relationships. And if we reach out to 4,000 bloggers or 2,000 bloggers, the return rate is 125 to 250. So there are a majority of people. I mean, the conversion rate is great, but there's a majority of people who feel like you do. The funny thing is, here's a funny thing. People thought that we would burn out these lists. With regards to Fresh Air Fund, if people post for us once, they generally will post for us again every quarter. Anytime we need to message through them about looking for host families or camp counselors or a capital campaign, they'll hook us up. So it's just sort of a long-term being there. Relationship is 80% being there and 20% consistency.
Okay, Sally, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think maybe it's why Chris and I do well to work together, because we kind of are both sides of the spectrum. I do some of what Chris does, but I like to work with people that I have relationships with, and I've always done that. Even all my years in traditional PR, I very rarely cold pitched a reporter because I just believe that the relations in public relations and blogger relations, it's the relations that actually make this thing work. So I'm much hotter on finding them, seeing if I can create some kind of a relationship before I kind of put the truck on the bridge, so to speak. I'll build the bridge and then say, look, I see that you would be interested in this, and I have this interesting piece of content, and I've had success doing it that way. Certainly, Chris is correct. If you pitch the A-listers like this, they'll slap you. But
Okay.
there are many people out there who are really happy to help.
Excellent. Okay, so one last question. That's about all we have time for, and this is an interesting one. My organization would be unable or unwilling to offer thank you links back to bloggers and other organizations. What might be another way to acknowledge their helpful posts? And why don't we start with Sally?
Well, my first question would be why? But, okay, if you absolutely can't, can you not even on Twitter or somewhere else say something? Just send them a personal email and say thank you. If you can't thank them in public, at least thank them. It's just good manners.
Yeah, and you can also do it in the comments. You can also go directly to the comment, and you can make a very nice thank you comment. Thank you for covering us. We appreciate your time and attention, if that's the kind of thing you can do. But like Sally said, a proper, nice email is also good if it needs to be private.
Okay. Well, thank you both very much. Thank you very much to Sally Falco and Chris Abraham for our extremely informative and interesting webinar today. Thank you to everyone in the audience for attending. And we will have an archive version available for you in the next few days. Thanks for your time, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
And follow us on Twitter.